Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with another transfer talk roundup special, rounding up all of the latest Aston Villa transfer news on both incomings and potential outgoings. Make sure you smash that like button and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help us on the road to 6,000 subscribers. We're literally about 300 away, so very, very close to hitting that 6K number. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and get your comments in below, your thoughts on the potential incomings and outgoings at Aston Villa. So let's start with these outgoings, because it looks like Leon Bailey is about to seal and move to the Saudi Pro League, to Saudi Premier League newcomers FC NO1 in a deal that's potentially worth £25 million fee to Aston Villa and worth a whopping £10 million a season for Leon Bailey. So absolutely astronomical sums of money. And it's no wonder these players are really considering these moves, because who would turn down that money? It is absolutely crazy. So I think he will safely be moving on. And I think £25 million is a pretty good fee for him, considering I think we paid 30 and we've had 4 seasons out of him as well. 1 brilliant season, probably 3 really frustrating ones. And last season was a mirror of his other 2 seasons where he couldn't get anything going really. 1 or 2 flashes, but apart from that, sort of not really having the confidence in his body, not really having the confidence to take players on. Maybe a slight change in responsibility and change in role, but certainly not the Leon Bailey that we wanted to see and that we were seeing the season before. So, look, I've really enjoyed Leon Bailey at times. I've really liked having him as part of Aston Villa Football Club. And if he is to go, he goes with my best wishes. But I think for the PSR, for the transfer fee, for the deal for the player, I think it's the right move and helps us with all of the regulations. He's a big earner as well at the club, so it helps with that squad cost ratio as well. So I think the move benefits so many different parties, and for him to get that life-changing sum of money as well, even if he does a couple of seasons there and then moves to another club, I think that would be great business all round. Now, another player who has been linked to moves to Saudi Pro League previously has also been talked about potentially considering a move this season is Amadou Onana. Now, for me, I would be really keen to keep him at the club. I think he's had a season where, again, slight frustrations. He's been in and out, but certainly towards the back end of the season, he really showed some promise in terms of his performances, in terms of his physical attributes, in terms of his technical ability, and I think some of his leadership skills as well, that if we can keep him fit for next season and keep that maturity going, and with what he said he's learned from Unai Emery in just this season, I think there is a hell of a lot more to come from Amadou Onana. That being said, when an offer presents itself from a Saudi club, and it's Al Hilal that are presented an offer to him. They did this last season as well. He chose Aston Villa, but they've probably come back with even more money. And also, when you factor in a transfer fee to Aston Villa, these things have to be taken into consideration. And part of what I mentioned about the sale of players in this June window, if it has to satisfy PSR and squad cost ratio and FFP and all those regulations, then it's difficult to sell the fringe players that Aston Villa would want to get off their books, because no club wants them and no club is going to pay a fee for them that is going to satisfy all of those rules and regulations. What's going to happen is clubs are going to sell, clubs are going to try and buy your prized assets and your best players. And not only they're going to try and buy them, they're going to try and buy them at a reduced fee. Now, that's within English and European clubs. With Saudi clubs, this is where it has been a help for Aston Villa in particular to be able to satisfy some of these rules, because they're willing to pay the big transfer fees because they want to attract the big names into their clubs. So someone like Amadou Onana Yes, we paid 50 million for him, but what if they bid 70 million? What if they bid 75 million? What would it take for Aston Villa to say, do you know what, we'll consider this? And then how much wages would it take Amadou Onana to consider, well, actually, I'm going to consider this offer seriously. So this is what has to be taken into consideration. I don't personally think he goes, but I do think that there could be a conversation to be had if the offer is right. And then what would we do with reinvesting that? Would you be prepared to lose someone like Amadou Onana with regards to having Yuri Tillemans in the squad? Would losing Onana mean that you could keep Boubacar Kamara? Are the two mutually exclusive? Does Boubacar Kamara hasn't signed his deal yet? What does that mean? Does it mean that he's still hedging his bets? Does it mean he's waiting for a potential Champions League club to come in for him? Does it mean that we are prepared to sell him, seeing as though we didn't pay a transfer fee for him? All of these conversations need to be taken into account. But certainly within this period, this June period, I think all bets are off on players, and there could be some big moves if the money is right, and Amadou Onana could be part of that. Now, we've talked about potential incomings, and we talked about some of the hottest young talent across Europe coming into the club, and we've got Redmond, who's come in from Feyenoord. We've got Özcan, who's come in from the Turkish league. And there was Sverre Nypan, who was going to come in from Rosenborg. And it still potentially could happen. But there has been reports of Aston Villa cooling their interest in the player. Now, this could be interesting on many different parts. It could be Aston Villa trying to force his hand by saying, look, we're going to cool our interest in you. We've put our offer on the table. We've been and seen you. We've had a conversation with you. We've told you about the project. We've told you that we're going to potentially give you first team opportunities. We've told you about all these other young players that we've signed. Now the ball is in your court. And if you don't look to accept it soon, our interest will move to somebody else. Our interest will move away. It could be that. It could be that legitimately the player has other offers. We've talked about Manchester United being interested, with Manchester City, being interested. Man United might be interested. Arsenal interested, and other top clubs across Europe are interested in it. So he could well be keeping his options open. He could have said something to Aston Villa that has meant that they've backed off with their interest. That could be the case as well. It could be that the player wants to move to Aston Villa and his agents are putting it out there that Villa have cooled their interest, for Villa to turn around and go, oh, no, we actually want you. We want to sign you. There's more money. This is to get it over the line. So there could be multiple reasons why it's happened. But one thing's for certain, that the conversation has cooled over the last 2, 3, 4 weeks from the initial buzz around the player and his interest in Aston Villa. So this is going to be interesting. But look, if the deal isn't there to be done, he's an 18-year-old player who's playing in the Norwegian Premier League. Yes, it's a great feat, and looks a very promising young player. But how many times has this happened before, where a player is going to be the next world beater at 18 years of age, and then you don't hear back from them when they hit 23, 24? So there is a lot of development. There is a lot of learning. There's so much more to consider, regardless of the player's ability. How is he going to settle to life in another country? How is he going to settle in a dressing room that is a top-class dressing room with European football, with international players? How is he going to react to that? How is he going to react to a crowd of 45,000 fans looking at his every touch, and people putting pressure on him when he makes a bad pass? All of these things have to be taken into consideration for whether an 18-year-old footballer is going to be a world star. So at the moment, it's all just about potential, but there is a lot more to be said about what makes a footballer. So if Villa have cooled their interest, then I'm happy. I'm fine with that. We don't know what we've got. We don't know what we're not getting. So we're not missing out on anything. If he comes into the club and he develops, brilliant. If he doesn't, that's fine. We'll get someone else. Now, this number 10 position, and an attacking position, is a real area that we need to improve. And we need pace, we need trickery, we need goals, particularly. Look at the weight in terms of the responsibility that's been put on Ollie Watkins and Morgan Rogers. And the fact that John Duran was our third top scorer and only 5 below Watkins, and he left in January in all competitions, is crazy. And that shows you the lack of goals that we receive from the rest of the team. Now, we have apparently put our attentions to João Pedro of Brighton as our number one target. Now, Newcastle have been interested in him. He said he would be open to a move to a club in European competition if the price is right. But that's the point. The price has to be right. And I think they're talking about 70 to 75 million. So we'd probably have to move some people out to bring him in. But at 23 years of age, he's played 58 times in the Premier League for Brighton, scoring 19 goals, was at Watford, played 104 times, scored 23 goals, and has been now capped by Brazil 3 times. And always looks a very, very good player when he plays against Aston Villa. And whenever I see him on TV, and takes a good, very, very good penalty, a very cool penalty. So that's something that we need to take into consideration as well, although he'd probably miss as soon as he signs for Villa. But looking at his SofaScore stats, penalty taking is obviously one of his strengths. Positioning, high pressing, can play in that attacking midfield area, can play as a striker, can play off the wide areas as well. He's a very creative player, a very technical player, very skillful player as well. If you look, operating down that left-hand channel into the box as well, but all over the pitch, and has been a real consistent player for Brighton. Can be a bit injury prone at times, can be a bit temperamental at times, but I think would really develop under Unai Emery. Started 23 games, scored 10 goals, 7 big chances missed, 1 with his head, 1 with his left foot, 3 with his right foot, won 3 penalties. Has scored a lot of penalties as well. 6 assists, so knows how to create. Has created 11 big chances as well. 75% passing accuracy, 70% in the opposition half. 2.2 ball recoveries per game, so it does work a little bit as well. And the duels won 45% in terms of total duels won, 44% ground duels, 47% aerial duels. So, look, I've always enjoyed watching him as a player. I think he's got a very good technical ability. I guess the only reservation, maybe that temperamental side to him, and also the fact that he's a very ambitious player. Now, that's fine, but are you going to get more than a season? Are you going to get more than 2 seasons out of him before he's then looking for his next club? Now, I don't mind that. If you continue to improve and you help to improve Aston Villa, and then your price tag and your stock grows with the club, that's brilliant. But if it's like you're going to jump ship if we don't start doing as well as you've anticipated, then that's where you can maybe question the attitude a little bit. But for me, I'd be really interested in signing someone like João Pedro, and it would be a really good move for me. But we might have to move maybe 1 or 2 players on to be able to bring him in. Now, the other position is that goalkeeping position. And we've talked about Chevalier, we've talked about João Garcia, we've talked other players as well that could come in if Martinez leaves, or to put competition on Martinez. And another player that's been mentioned in the circles around Aston Villa is Kepa Arrizabalaga. Now, he was obviously on loan at Bournemouth last season and probably got his career quite back on track with them and had a really good season with them. I think maybe part of Bournemouth's situation was that they tapered off a little bit towards the end of the season. It might be maybe linked with Kepa as well slightly, but 31 games he played for Bournemouth, was on loan at Real Madrid, had 109 games for Chelsea, and he's actually probably Chelsea's best goalkeeper when you look at it, and he's the one who's been on loan. When you look at the quality or lack of their goalkeepers that they've currently got, it's actual criminal that he was able to go on loan to another Premier League club. But 31 games, as I said. In terms of clean sheets, let's just take a look. He's got 8 clean sheets last season, so not too bad at all. 2 errors leading to a shot, 1 error leading to a goal, and he gave away 2 penalties. But I think he's a player who's pretty good with the ball at his feet. He's pretty good when crosses come in. He's not too bad. He's got a good shot stopping ability. So I think he's a pretty good all-round keeper. And at the age that he is as well, with the experience that he's got, still 30. So I don't know, maybe slightly older than maybe what Unai Emery is looking for. I guess it depends on the reasons why Martinez wants to leave. If Kepa's coming in for like 2, 3, 4 years to have regular and be the number one at a club like Aston Villa in Europe, and he's available around £5 million, so it could be an absolute bargain. But is he looking to bring in a 23, 24-year-old who's got that experience, who's played European football, like a Chevalier, who can come in? Yes, it's a higher fee, but you might get 5, 6, 7 years out of him. So that's probably the consideration that they've got to look at. But for me, I'd be open to it. I'd really be open to someone like him coming into the club. But you guys let me know your thoughts in the comments. So Leon Bailey looks like he's sealing his move. What do you think about that? Is it a good offer? And does he go with your blessing? Amadou Onana, could that be done if the deal is right? And would you be prepared to see him go, or do you see more to come from him next season? Sverre Nypan, would you be gutted to miss out on a top class talent apparently from across Europe? Or are you easy with it with the scouting system that we've got already at the club? And João Pedro, is that the answer for our attacking midfield or striking options? And Kepa Arrizabalaga, do you want to see him in goal, or would you rather see a different option, aka Chevalier, if Emi Martinez was to go? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, help us on the road to 6,000 subscribers. Get your comments in. We'll be back later this week with plenty more transfer talk rumor videos and a fans forum probably to come in the next week or so once we've rounded up all of the news. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa.